Okay, we're back. Welcome. This is Crucible Tarot. It's a pleasure to have you here and hope that you enjoy this month's messages. We are now entering the month of August. Finally seeing the days grow a bit shorter here in the UK. And, a lot of things are heating up in some ways, and in other ways, they're cooling down quite a bit. But we'll see which way your reading chooses to go. So, we'll be reading for the month of August, generally speaking, the message that really needs to be heard during this particular moment in time. It doesn't necessarily need to be a prediction always, but it is at least something that resonates with you at the particular moment in time that you receive this message. So the intention is to try to capture the window of August 2026, but of course, things could go in different directions. You may hear stories from the past, stories from the future, and you may actually even be hearing someone else's story. So if it's not yours, don't take it if it doesn't resonate. So that said, if you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so that you don't miss any updates, and feel free to support the channel in any way that you see fit. Hopefully everything's all sorted out. I'm going to go ahead and read. I'm actually switching things up a bit. I'm going a little bit old school, and I'm taking it back to the movie tarot deck. So, of course, we have different types of movie scenes here in this deck. Of course, this is from Back to the Future, Wheel of Fortune, oh, good old Christopher Lloyd, and a few others here. Let's see what we can find. The Hermit is... Damn, I have no idea what movie that's from. Okay. But we do have Death, which is Donnie Darko. So that's pretty fun. Anyways, let's go ahead and begin the reading. We'll go straight into what you're feeling and what is going on within your soul at this particular moment, Taurus. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Your first card is the King of Swords in the reverse. And the challenge is the Two of Coins in the reverse. So, typically when you have the King of Swords, it's the person who's very good at debating, skilled thinker, very, very detached and unemotional from certain things that they need to resolve. In your specific case, what I can say is it can manifest one of two ways. If we look at it in the negative sense, we could say that, the King of Swords in the reverse can be quite a rebellious figure. Sometimes they can say narcissistic in many ways, but in other ways it can be just a person who's just kind of throwing caution to the wind is the expression that I'm getting here. And with the Two of Coins in the reverse as the challenge would be to kind of balance between two certain things that you value closely. So you may feel torn and things may feel unclear right now as to what direction you're going to take next, because you're currently sat in an energy where things are not very clear. Additionally, with the Two of Coins in the reverse as the challenge, it means that typically if you feel like throwing things out and you don't feel like working with them anymore, or sometimes it can be like you've dropped the ball, you're overwhelmed by certain things. I don't really get a feeling of overwhelm. I get a feeling of kind of like, you know what, screw this. I'm tired. I just want to lash out. I kind of want to rebel. I'm no longer going to be in this reserved King of Swords energy. I'm going to be in the King of Swords reverse, where it's going to be about me for a little bit now. It's no longer about being objective and impartial. It's King of Swords. The reason why they're narcissists oftentimes is because they play head and mind games, but additionally, they are somewhat rooted in the ego. And for the narcissist, of course, that's all ego. In your specific case, what I see here is that you've been put in a situation where you feel that you have been reserved for a long period of time. You have kind of tried to do things in a logical and structured manner, and now it feels like with the King of Swords in the reverse, it's almost like you're going back to that Page of Swords energy, where you're taking your sword and you're just lobbing anyone's head off. King of Swords in the reverse, even more so than a narcissist, they can be an absolute tyrant. So if you're feeling all tyranty these days, this may be the reason why. It's because you're I'll try not to use pejoratives or explicatives here, but you're feeling as if you have sat and taken the high road for so long as the king that you just feel like the actions that you've taken in the past just haven't, I suppose, paid off, because when you have this Two of Coins in the reverse, it's about juggling and balancing and adapting to the issues of every day. And now you're just like, you know what, it's gone. It's gone. I'm tired. In the past, you had the Four of Wands. And with the Four of Wands, that's talking about celebrating a milestone. It's talking about, you know, celebrating kind of like a waypoint. This is my Halo waypoint, you know, where you get to a save, you know, a saved game. You get to the Three of Wands where you're actually waiting for something to come in. The Four of Wands is when you celebrate its arrival. And they can say it's a marriage. I guess it depends on the context. In your specific case, you celebrated something that you were very strongly affiliated with. You had an affinity for. And the reason for this was the Three of Coins. So you're working with people, you've got people in your environment, and you're part of society. So you're going out, you're making connections, you know, you're working with people to develop and create something. So with that Four of Wands is a celebration of the connections and the new kind of structured community that you've got. Because with threes, that's the expansion. So the Three of Coins is the expansion of your wealth and your value and the things that you hold important to yourself. You go from the Two of Coins in the reverse as the challenge to the Three of Coins in the recent past. So maybe in the past you felt really stable and you felt like you had gotten quite a bit into your life that was really conducive to making you feel happy and grounded. And as I see in the near future, you have the Eight of Cups in the reverse. And then this is clarified by the Page of Coins. It's almost like I'm getting the phrase like I'm not quite finished yet. And it's almost like you're feeling to yourself, I want to learn something new. I want to continue to build off of what I've done in the past. Reason for the Eight of Cups in the reverse. It's not going off to meet like your full wish fulfillment. It's like there's not something quite fully fulfilled in this situation. After all of this stability that you've built for yourself, the Page of Coins actually is the one that goes and learns a new practical skill, a new practical talent, or communicates to someone something that is going to be of a utility rather than simply an emotional connection. I'm under the impression, and call me crazy on this, you're wanting to return to something that you used to do in the past that was of a practical nature. So if it's a hobby, a skill, if it's something that you had started and abandoned in the past, you're now revisiting that. With the Page of Coins, it tells me of something that's, you know, either money focused or pragmatic, or something that allows for you to express yourself in a cogent, solid way. So in the case, you know, you could say what I'm doing right now is essentially an expression of the Page of Coins. It's a practical way to express my hobby, skills, and talents by taking the 78 cards and telling stories. Hopefully the stories resonate with you. It could be about taking a class. It could be about learning how to do something new, learning a skill, a trade, even getting back and exercising, getting into a hobby like weightlifting or martial arts or things of that nature. We do have the Rain Man here. This is the Page of Coins. I believe this is the Rain Man. And I think it's Dustin Hoffman's character. And hopefully that's the right name. Yeah, Dustin Hoffman. So he was a genius. He was, I don't know if I want to use the word spurgy or anything like that. I think that's might be a bit rude. But he was autistic to a degree, but he was a genius at the things that he did. So you might be delving into something that you have a strong passion for or an obsession over. So my obsessions are as follows: like they're music, tarot, motorcycles. You'll always hear me bang on about motorbikes. Politics, art, history, all sorts of things, like technology, anything that helps me to learn and grow and to develop. And things that can be of a complex nature that I can distill, and not necessarily in a reductionist manner, but in a way that allows for me to see the simple parts and synthesize them into the whole. So this is a way that can manifest. Going into the subconscious of your mind, what we have here is we have in the subconscious, you have the Five of Cups. So with the Five of Cups, we tell a story about someone who is disappointed. Maybe you experience a kind of loss of sorts. And with that, clarifying it is the Hierophant. So, of course, this Hierophant is the Godfather. What better person to be the Hierophant than that? And we look at this and we talk about a person who's disappointed from all of the structures around them that seem to have either betrayed them or who have neglected their responsibilities. Because the Hierophant is supposed to be an authority figure, a leader. They're the five. They're the ones that help bring about the change needed to help get someone grounded. It's a Taurus card, so that's your card. But in the reverse, it can talk about a rebellious figure, or it can talk about structures that have dissolved, structures that are meant to preserve and to ground, sustain things. So I remember speaking about in your situation, Taurus, and I also, of course, remember in my own life where I spoke about the loss of jobs or the distrust of organizations. So you may be a type of person who doesn't really fit very well into organized, structures such as big corporations or organized religion, things of that nature. They've disappointed you so much in the past that you feel that it's difficult for you to want to join them again. So maybe you want to revisit this old skill or quality or talent to monetize it, but possibly due to the fact that you don't want to rely on the big, large structures that are traditionally used to earn and to make money. So whatever it is that you're choosing to involve yourself into, whether that's podcasting, speaking, selling something on ST, any of those types of things, that would be what you're looking towards. Now, the problem with that, your conscious mind, this is what you know, is the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords talks about feeling nervous, not really sure what's going on, hopefully not, being able to see the forest for the trees. It's a general kind of anxiety that takes place. And the reason for this is not necessarily Bruce Lee, but it's the Ace of Wands. Because this new start is taking shape, and because you know that you do want to undergo this venture, this Eight of Swords is coming out because you do feel a bit of trepidation for it. But on the other hand, you know that this new start is going to be worthwhile. So Bruce Lee is a massively popular figure amongst Mars and Capricorn types. This is the quintessential type of martial arts master. And they're disciplined, they're focused, but they are able to exert strength and the will upon the masses, not just through their charisma and personality, but through their ability to absolutely dominate physically, despite size, despite perceived skill level. It was all about, I mean, I remember he would always say, you need to be like water. And that's the best way, you can overcome opponents, you can get through issues and, uncertainties in life. So in essence, even though this is the Ace of Wands, I would almost say, like, in many ways, you have to be a bit more fluid and structured, fluid and unstructured. So that way you can release yourself from the kind of uncertainties and what ifs that keep cropping up in your mind. So that Eight of Swords in your conscious mind, feel the fear and do it anyway. That is precisely what you need to do, because that's going to be the attitude that carries you into this new goal. And here's what takes place in the future anyways. Look at that. The Emperor, Scarface in this one. I like the way they do kind of encapsulate the different kind of cards using figures in the major arcana from different movies. So in this, Scarface builds his own empire. Hopefully you're not doing that with blow or anything like that, but you get the idea. But he is a kingpin. He is an emperor of his particular trade, which we will not be mentioning on YouTube. Hopefully, not too much. With the Emperor being there, you also see that with the Five of Wands, it's not going to be something that you just easily get. You're going to have to fight for it. You're going to have to really compete in a market which is either A, saturated, or B, fighting with the same weapons. And you'll need to kind of use your creativity in this case in order to overcome your competition. With the Five, that is also a GEVURAH card, Five being the card of change. And with the actions, that means that you'll have to change your actions in order to be able to compete and spar with the market in which you are involving yourself in. So Scarface was definitely, Tony Montana was a very unconventional type of person anyway, in order to overcome his enemies. And, I'd have to revisit the movie because it's been ages since I've seen any of it. But one thing you will have to know what is important. If you want to be at the top, number one, it's going to be lonely. Number two, that could be where some of this Eight of Swords is coming through, because as you know, Tony Montana, despite taking in copious amounts of snow and selling it on the side, he was a paranoid person because, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So if you do experience a sharp rise in success from the things that you're doing, try to be mindful of the stresses that come up as you are competing in this market. You also have here the Knight of Wands. And what movie is this? It looks like Dune. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe it is Dune. But with the Knight of Wands in the reverse, we talk a little bit about a person. We don't want to say you're aimless, but if you're going to take an action against the competition, you need to be very focused and centered on where you want to go. This could be kind of warning of sorts, where you're actually saying to yourself, I have this plan, I have this destiny. I mean, try not to wander too aimlessly in the ideas that you try to express. Try to give them form and a craft so that when you express them to people, either A, you can communicate a clear message through that medium, or B, allow people the right to discover their meaning through the art that you do. And so in that case, this is a way that you can really outshine with the competition. And so I think this is going to be very good. And I do believe that, so I drew Nine of Wands for some reason, something told me to do it. I do believe that you're going to be in a bit of wounded warrior energy, but it's because you're putting yourself out there. It's a very vulnerable place to be. It's not something that, you know, if you decide to get involved in a skill or a trade or a talent or any of those things, that you're going to have it easy. Yeah, nothing good ever comes easy. But for your message, because we have the Moonology Oracle deck that I'm going to use to kind of spice up the rest of the reading, we have Don't Let Pride Get in Your Way, full moon in Leo. And we're actually in Leo season at the moment. Yeah, still in Leo season. So right at the height of everything, it's just important that as this energy accumulates and you become further in the public limelight, it's important that you don't allow your ego, like Scarface, don't allow your ego to forget your humble beginnings, to allow you to see what must be done in a rational manner, and furthermore, to allow yourself to fully express your nature. Because with Leo has a very commanding presence. The problem with it is that if you come off too strong, or if you don't consider your audiences when you get involved in this, then it can create some headaches, and you still do have a reputation to maintain and to uphold. So that is what I have for your message. Yeah, this is Crucible Tarot. I'm wishing you all the best on this endeavor, whatever that's going to be. This has been the reading for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant for the month of August 2026. If you like what you see here, again, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and support the channel in any way that you can see fit. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much. Until next time, VIAM, GEVURAH, AMBULO. Have a great day.